Hey guys, it's your boy M.K.S back with part 2 of my philanthropic goals. You might notice, I know I'm balding anyway, but I've had a trim. My stepdad cut my hair and my beard as well, so very nice of him, of course, and free of charge as well. So anyway, just thought I'd mention that. But yeah, so I thank him for that. But anyway, yeah, so here's some of my philanthropic goals. So please check out part 1 if you haven't already done so, and look out for part 3 when it comes out, all being well, and if I ever get around to it. And also please leave your comments, preferably positive ones, and let me know which of these ideas was your least and most favorite ideas, or whatever other ideas you have for making the world a better place, or anything like that, especially for making the world a better place anyway, or general thoughts. Anyway, I am going to carry on my list. I nearly said I'm out then. I'm going to carry on my list, so here goes. So as I say, this is continuing on from part 1. So number 11, I'd love to support Indigenous people from Africa and Australasia to become inventors, investors, entrepreneurs, ideas people, especially to learn to invest and to make money from their art and writing, become writers, artists. Well, a lot of Indigenous Australasians already are artists, but I'd love to support them to make money from their art and learn how to reach their full potential financially and just emotionally and spiritually as well, and just generally be empowered through their art, as well as like supporting STEM programs for Indigenous people from Africa and Australasia. I love big tech companies and also science, tech, possibly even engineering and maths companies or companies that are involved in that sort of area, or even NGOs or charities or fundraisers who can support the financial, so can financially support the training of Indigenous people from both continents in STEM, especially tech, but as I say, also the other areas as well, because those are key areas which will help their economy, as well as perhaps learning to set up their own businesses and learning key communication skills and how to, I suppose, the language of business as well, like learning English that will help them to communicate around the world. I suppose most people from those countries or areas know a certain degree of English, but yeah, so if they learn about the language, that will help them to get investment in businesses. I think it'd be great to see Indigenous Australasians becoming inventors and entrepreneurs as well, because I've not heard of any Indigenous Australasians who are inventors, but maybe there are a few. But it'd be great to encourage more and support them. And as I say, support them in STEM projects and having the confidence, and again, to monetize their art as much as possible. And also, I think this could be like a world first if this happened, but I think it'd be interesting to see how many Indigenous people from Australasia and Native Americans, or Indigenous people from across the Americas, if you like, First Nations or whatever you want to call them, how much they know about neurodiversity like dyslexia, autism, ADHD, and things like that, and if they could learn more about those conditions, and like seeing if many Indigenous people from Australasia and the Americas have those conditions, and if so, like, I think there are lots of strengths within like dyslexic and ADHD, even autism strengths, which they could utilize to help their people, the communities, and things like that. So I hope that made sense. Number 12, I'd love to encourage and support Indigenous people from Africa and Australasia, as well as Asia and Ireland, and as I said before, like colonized countries or emerging markets or emerging economies, growing economies, developing nations, whatever you want to call them. I'd love to support them and encourage them as much as possible. And as I said before, like also Indigenous Australasians, and like try and support them as much as possible and see what support they need. I'd also love to listen to them, like what sort of help they think they need, so that they can they can share what sort of help they think they need, not just be told what help they need, but to support them in areas like housing, medical, healthcare, and stuff like that, and just generally support them and like encourage people to mentor them, teach them, and train them in areas which I hope will empower them a lot more in the future. Number 13, again, like I have this bias for Italian football, so I include that as number 13 because I'm biased towards Italian football. So I'd love to fundraise as much as possible and encourage the most possible sponsors, CEOs, investors, owners, and as much investment into Italian football as well. That's a bit of a biased idea of mine, but yeah. Number 14, I'd love to encourage people to look into ways to solve problems which are facing communities such as I say, Indigenous people from Australasia, and hopefully helping them to network together and like encouraging governments, politicians, NGOs, and other such organisations to as many charities as possible to support them and support them with things like networking events, encourage the governments of Australia and the Torres and Strait Pacific Island, how you pronounce it, and New Zealand to host events which will hopefully help Indigenous Australasians to learn about how to network in business, areas like STEM, how to make money from their art, how to become writers, how to get published, how to express themselves and have their own poetry, and support them on YouTube, their own TikTok channel, TikTok accounts and things like that. So I think it'd be great to empower them as much as possible and encourage as many people as possible to support them. Number 15, I think it'd be great if people of colour supported Indigenous Australasians and Africans with their aspirations, especially South Africa and Indigenous Australasians as well, especially South Africa due to apartheid and things like that. Number 16, as ever, I'd love to hear other people's ideas and network together with like-minded people. Charity, like see if we can set up social enterprises, charities, NGOs, and advise each other, and people with experience sharing their experience and knowledge to help others, and encouraging like big STEM companies or big tech companies, especially to like Google, IBM, Microsoft, Dell, and companies like that. Looking how they can train up people from diverse backgrounds, such as people with disabilities, physical, mental, and learning disabilities, who might be able to be taught in especially in tech, and also Indigenous people from Africa and Australasia, especially people from Africa with dyslexia, autism, ADHD, and dyspraxia and conditions like that. I think it'd be pretty awesome to see people from those backgrounds, especially across Africa, being supported. Like Microsoft and Dell and companies like that already have their own training programs for people with autism in America, and I think it's worked pretty well. So I think it'd be great to see that expanded to Africa, which would be a way to help them to grow their economies. And I think it would be great to see autistic people from across Africa in STEM subjects as much as possible. Again, I'd love to hear other people's ideas, and again, network with others, because I've not got any experience of like setting up my own social enterprise or NGO or anything like that. But I'd love to be able to do something like that across what I call the 4, which I've mentioned before in my previous videos, or now the 6, and like how they can network together. And I'd love to somehow, if I could, set up a social enterprise or NGO in all of those communities or countries, respectively, and put like help them to network together. So like it somehow could be registered in all those areas. But I'd love to encourage African and Asian governments about how that would benefit them as much as possible. Number 17, again, I think it'd be great if Indigenous people from across Australasia, as well as Native Americans, learnt about neurodiversity and the benefits or strengths of neurodiversity, and also people from Africa and Ireland and Asia to learn more about people to learn about neurodiversity, because there are already organisations which work with dyslexics and ADHD and autism and that sort of thing. But I think that could also be expanded, and I think it'd be great if African and Asian governments learn more. Like also information was shared with teachers and trainers, as well as people generally across Africa and Asia and places like that, to learn about neurodiversity as much as possible. Number 18, hopefully be as positive as possible, like make the world a better place, discourage people from committing crimes or hurting each other, and like encourage people to help each other as much as possible. Again, I think it'd be great if somehow there was a lobby group which lobbied for peace instead of like war or violence, and like had a counter lobby from all these lobbies that lobby for like the weapons trade or wars or whatever, which people unfortunately make money from. And that, I think, is why such things exist, because I'm sure people are making a lot of money from it. Otherwise, I'm sure it wouldn't. All these wars and things probably wouldn't be going on. So I think it'd be great to have like a lobby group which says like things like water instead of war, or instead of weapons and things like that. Number 19, again, getting like-minded people to support fundraising for STEM projects across Africa and Indigenous Australasian communities. I think if we work together, we're much stronger, and we can lobby against wars and instead use that a lot of that money which goes towards wars, which, like, if they cut military budgets by 10%, I think people say they could feed pretty much everyone in the world, and even provide clean water as well as edible food, and probably even healthy food as well. And number 20, I think it'd be great if older people passed on their knowledge and people trained and networked together. And there would be projects like people from Africa, Indigenous Africans and Australasians, like teaching each other what they know, and working together on like training and technology for at least an hour a day, as I said before. Like, they could pass on their information, what they know, to each other, and even a worldwide global black diaspora, or people of colour generally supporting Africans and Indigenous Australasians as well. So I hope I didn't waffle too much, and I'm out. Peace and love.